Today, we announced the results of the international competition on the development of concept for the Moscow River. The international competition was announced this year, and in the first stage, 47 teams participated in the competition, 216 companies from 15 countries of the world. In September, 6 finalists were announced, and today the final winner was chosen out of them. The first question to you, Mr. Husnulin, could you tell us about the criteria on how you chose the winner team of Meganom project? First of all, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to tell you that our jury was an international one. If you check the content of the jury, you can see that half of the list come from other countries. They are real professionals in their own spheres. Half of the jury is Russian experts, members of the government. So when we draw conclusions and announced results, we expressed our opinion and voted with scores. When we summarized all the scores, we chose the best team, which was Meganom project. What tasks were there in the technical task? What did we want to achieve? First of all, we wanted this concept to serve as the basis for technical task for future reconstruction and construction of the embankments, bridges, roads, and traffic nodes. The task was quite practical for us. We wanted to get as much ideas as possible, and we wanted to get very specific material based on what we could design and construct in the future. Let me give you an example. For example, ZIL. It was a part of our project, and within 3 years we have to construct there a road and an embankment. That was why we were waiting for the decision of the competition, wanted to have a look at the ideas of the participants of the competition, and based on their ideas we will allocate money from the budget and launch the project and bring it to life. I should tell you that out of the whole ideas expressed by the participants of the competition, part of them will be brought to life as soon as possible. I also should tell you that in the nearest future we will develop one more project, Nizhny Melnik. Perhaps you know that the decision about the construction of a large park was taken some time ago, and now we will prepare a technical task, and we have to take into account all the suggestions and proposals made by the participants of the competition. Though Meganom project won the competition, we think that all the participants of competitions made really good practice-oriented decision. We have to look through them, and NIPI, as an institution that prepares amendments to the general plan of the city, will have a look at them, and we will take into account all the proposals and wishes of the participants of competition. We will attract the participants to the future specific design. Thank you. I would like to ask a question to Sergey. Could you please tell us how the competition was organized and how you chose a winning team? Well, yes, first of all, we should tell you that there are many international competitions around the world, and our international competitions for the development of Moscow River is one of the largest, taken into account the square of the territory, 10% of the territory located in the historical part of Moscow, and taking into account the number of participants. We had 47 consortiums, more than 200 companies participated in the competition. So maybe it may seem to you that the number is not very large, but the topic is a specific one, and all the companies working in the sphere of urban development in the world participated. We chose 6 finalist teams, and they came up with really strong projects. The jury had a session yesterday and voted, organized a ranking of the projects, and Meganom was on the first place. But every proposal had really strong ideas and interesting things that we could analyze and make some kind of ideal project. Thank you, dear colleagues. Today here in the jury we have the representatives of jury, our experts, and the representatives of 6 teams participating in the competition. I would like to ask a question to Mr. Vergara, who was one of the members of the jury in our competition. Mr. Vergara, what do you think? How can you assess this international competition in terms of organization and whether the decision taken was correct?
Okay. In my opinion, this competition is part of the history of the city. Probably there is no other topic stronger and more important for the future of Moscow than the dialogue between the city and the river. And I enjoy a lot the almost 10-hour session yesterday, analyzing, discussing these final presentations. And I found a lot of very, very important concepts for dealing this topic. Concepts at different scales, at the regional scale, at the metropolitan scale, and at the scale of specific places. So I see the whole experience very powerful one for the city of Moscow. I think the objectives of bringing international talent to work in the city, to provide the best of their own experience for the future of the city is really a very, very strong one. And it's not a project to be developed in 5 years. I mean, the scale of the project is amazing. So I am fascinated by the amount of concepts, linear city, polycentrism, ecological infrastructure, a lot of concepts that can really connect pieces. It's totally different, making decisions every day on particular sites without having a vision, without having a concept. So in my opinion, I think the city of Moscow has now much better opportunity to understand the solution associated to the dialogue between the river and the city. For me, was particularly interesting the complementarity between different teams. I do think you can really use not only one team, but different teams to work in different parts of the city, because it's really a lot of experience, a lot of background. In my opinion, the teams are really heroes. In such a short time, produce this amount of work, articulating this work in such a way, it's really amazing. So I think we have a generation of people that are very generous in collaborating with emblematic city like Moscow, because Moscow could be a reference for other megacities in the world. So to conclude my comments, I do think key topics of the city, urban structure, mobility, the relation between center and periphery, can be dealt with the river. And also the economy of the future of Moscow could be associated with the opportunities in these sites along the riverbank.
Thank you. Thank you. The winner of our competition is a consortium headed by Meganon Project, Yuri Gregoran. Yuri, could you please tell us a few words and describe the project that won the competition? What do you think is the most important in your idea? Thank you very much. Once again, I would like to express my gratitude to the government of Moscow, to the jury. Thank you for being with us in the competition. And also, I would like to thank all the participants of the competition. We participate in a number of competitions together. It's such a pity that we haven't seen the works of our colleagues, because it was a closed competition, so we didn't have a possibility to see all the projects, and the members of the jury perhaps understand better what kind of competition it was, because frankly speaking, we do not know about the final results. As far as the project is concerned, we had 3 main concepts. The first is to analyze Moscow, new Moscow, and to have a look at the real city, to understand the whole system of rivers as one ecosystem, including small rivers and the Moscow River, to make them accessible, active, dynamic. You cannot simply work with one river. You know that the Moscow River, from the historical point of view, is water from various rivers and canals, and we wanted to create a dynamic and live infrastructure. As far as Moscow is concerned, we have two strategies here: centers and peripheries. For the center, we want to focus on environment and to bring together public spaces and water decontamination plants so that we can not touch the granite monument itself. And in the periphery, we found out that these parts of the river are not seen to the city, and the concept is called future ports. These are public spaces located on the embankment of the rivers, and they bring together different districts of the city and transform a Moscow River into a spine of city, into a new lineal center of the city. And I think it's crucially important that all these concepts could provide for same access to the river in different districts of the city. Such ports are divided into large or regional ports, the ports of city importance, and 26 district ports. I think we will have to make some kind of a technical task, and we will deal with it in the Office of Moscow Architecture, but I think the key element of our project was the idea to establish the Day of the River in July. We celebrate the Day of the City, but unfortunately we do not have the Day of the River, and that could be a great opportunity to celebrate it, to organize river cruises. Our mayor or Mr. Husnulin could make a boat tour, for example. We could organize boat tours for the inhabitants of the city so that people could understand there is a river in the city and it's easy to make such tours. Thank you. Yuri, our mayor traveled all around the Moscow River. Before the decision was taken about the organization of competition, our mayor spent several weekends traveling around the Moscow River to see the city from the river. And after that, the decision was taken to organize a special concept on the development of the embankments of Moscow River. After this competition, the real investments will come, the real projects will come in the future. We have seen the river and we have a good understanding of it. I would like to tell you that the mayor, together with all the members of the government responsible for decision taken in this sphere, traveled around Moscow River. We analyzed the Moscow River for several weeks before we took decision. Dear colleagues, shortly speaking, all the material about the teams is given to you on the web page, both for the inhabitants of the city and for the journalists. There were a lot of great ideas, and you can analyze and have a look at them in the internet. At the same time, I would like to tell you that together with the winning team, the concept will be developed in detail, and it will be announced in April 2015. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your questions, please. And please use the microphone.
Михаил Рычагов, Интерфакс недвижимость.
So, my question is the following: which is the approximate price of the concept, and which difficulties have you faced in your work? So I'd like to say first and foremost that we didn't have any difficulties except the usual ones as time limits, because we had a great deal of work and we had to scrutinize all the concepts and to work out different plots and pieces of land. And so I think it's a great experience and a great project, and it's a precious one. And I think the Moscow River itself is a great project. I don't think that we can have any budget regarding this issue. And I think, as Mr. Husnulin has said, everything is done step by step. And the river is owned by the city, and the water basin is federal property, and so we need to economize and to spend reasonably public funds, and we can achieve certain results. And I believe that all of us have certain ideas which will enable us to activate some parts and some spaces of work, and I think that quick results can be achieved. And we know it, we have the example of Gorky Park, and today we are finishing the new master plan, and even now we have drastic changes, and we didn't have any great expenses, and so it's a great use for the city. And so of course the project demands investment, but I think first and foremost I'd like to emphasize the dumps of wastewaters in the Moscow River. So I think it doesn't mean lots of funds, but it demands certain attention. So Larissa Kopolova, Ecological Architecture magazine. So I wanted to ask about additional supplemental environmental projects, because in the past people could bathe in the Moscow River, but now it's quite dirty, and so certain measures have to be taken to preserve the flora of the Moscow River. And so what will be the architecture of the project? Because what I've seen in the presentation, the mayor of Moscow has emphasized the issue that the architecture is quite strict in some parts of the Moscow River. So is some classical style implied, which is more characteristic for the Moscow identity? So, and who's to ask this question? Perhaps Mr. Husnulin. We need to design certain, we didn't have to design certain buildings, and we didn't have to establish a certain architecture style, but of course we understand the issue, and it's one of the crucial priorities, because the city needs to get a new central alley in the banks of the Moscow River, because the Neva River is the face of St. Petersburg, and we need to have something similar in Moscow. And so we want to have a competition along the Moscow River embankment, and our colleagues supported us, and we will conduct this architectural competition on the federal level. And so we need to say that we understand the style and the architecture demands of the city. We have certain trends in Moscow, and it's more of a classic kind. Of course, we don't deny the opportunities of modern architectural forms. We can't say that, but we need to understand that everything is good in its place, because the architecture forms the city fabric, and it supplements the ensemble which is currently on the way. So where is the place for something new? We can do that. Where we have to stick to some traditions and to classical styles, we need to do that as well, because the length is the main length is from northwest and in southeast, and so we need to take it into account. Of course, I can't say that we are talking about box architecture, but it's a kind of different architecture from the classical ones, and so it's a very crucial point for us, and we will conduct different competitions in architectural issues. And I'd like to answer your environmental question. We had some experts, and they were dealing with different constituents of this matter, and the this work will be underway till April, so all the elements will be scrutinized and included in the concept. So Alexander Isakov, RIA Novosti, and my question is to Mr. Grigoryan. And so, can you tell more about the points of the development in such places as ZIL and Moscow City? I'd like to say a couple of words, and I think I'm not an expert in this, not the main expert in this sphere. We implied that the main project for Moscow is the transfer of the parliamentary center from the center of Moscow, and it's very important because we know that this venue wasn't developed. We didn't know what to do there, the park or Disneyland or whatever, and it's crucial at the moment to decide what's going to be next. And we have named this project the Gardens of the Parliament, and I think it's very important to emphasize the nature constituent. If we talk about ZIL, 4 years ago we implied that the peninsula will become the parliamentary center because parliamentaries can transfer to southeast but not to the northwest, but it's their choice, and it can promote decentralization anyway, and so ZIL will develop as a city inside of a city because it's the space size of Yerevan, and so you need to understand that to construct a residential area there is the same as construction of Yerevan from scratch. And so this haven seemed very important for us, and the combination of different functions in the sphere is very important, and also the presence of parks. And there was a third constituent, the third part of your question, but I don't remember it. So Moscow City. We just showed one of our ports there because there are no parking lots at the moment, and we thought that a hybrid of the parking lots and the station itself, restaurants, and a small number of trade and public space could help us to make this complex more colorful. And I think we need to think about that within the framework of the major projects. And Mr. Husnulin, we have discussed a lot of crucial urban development projects, and could you make some comments on the further development of these territories? So I can say that while the devising the formula of the Moscow River concept, we were thinking about the territories adjacent to the river, and we were thinking about the priorities. If we talk about the city, it's something we have at the moment, and by 2018 the construction will be ended, and so now we will be facing the final of construction of the underground network in the district. But now we are facing the issue of the prolongation of the territory to the north, because you know that we have an industrial zone there, and even now we try to change land reclamation and to establish different embankments. And so this project needs to take into the account the development of big city. It's the territory of the port, and it's the territory of Shipyhinskaya embankment, and so it's the business center which will be shifting closer to the north from the city, and it will hold the burden of the polycentric concepts which are the base of the Moscow River development concept. Now we try to decentralize the city, and the project of the Moscow River has one of the main prerequisites. It's polycentric idea in the base, because we need to develop the city to the north and to the south in the close to the port, and we need to enable people to use these territories adjacent to the river and to enable people live there and to make it accessible, to develop transport infrastructure and to construct new bridges, because we have now distances of 13 kilometers which are needed to be overcome to reach one or another embankment. So we need to solve these transport problems and to develop the territories adjacent to the Moscow River. So it's clear that the project which was presented today, it's a concept, but its implementation needs money and funds. So have you devised a formula of stimulating the project, because for this project not to rest on the paper and to be implemented? So the Moscow River was divided in different parts. There are some parts which are enhanced at the moment, and they are quite developed, and so we need to put everything into order to make some supplemental enhancements and improvements and to make them more accessible. It's the first part of the work, and it will rest to the budget of the city. And so the second part includes major zones of development, for example, large city Mnevniki and some others. Here we will have combined types of work. For example, ZIL will have our constructors, companies, and they will have their own expenses for the construction of these spaces, and the investors will be independent in doing this work. If we have investors with their own funds, so it's up to them to do. And so if we have projects connected with the development of river and which is financed from the budget, so it's up to the budget. So the Moscow River is divided into different parts, and so each part will have its own source of financing, either budget ones or investors. So we understand that it's very crucial to shift from the idea to the implementation, and we have the first 3 years and we have money for them, and the second stage is up to 2025. It's things we can do. We can design certain things, and the third period is up to 2035 to implement the whole concept.
I would like to ask one more question. The project is a very complicated one, and we will need to join the efforts of various departments from the city of Moscow. How are you going to do this work? Do you understand it? Yes, we have a total understanding of the future work. We will make a working group. It's nearly there, and this group will coordinate the efforts of different members of the government. The task is already known to the group to coordinate the efforts in Moscow architecture, in the Pigin plan. We have also announced various people responsible for the implementation of this project, and all the issues emerging in this project will be discussed on the levels of the city. We have special bodies responsible for the decision making and implementation of decisions in the level of the city. This project, as one larger project, will become a project given to certain people, and they will have their own responsibility. We hope that we'll start its implementation soon. Dear colleagues, I would like to make one announcement. Tomorrow at the Urban Forum, we will have a special session dedicated to the project development of Moscow River. The experts, the members of the winning team, the members of the jury will participate there. And on Saturday, on December 13, there will be one more discussion dedicated to the concept of Moscow River development. You will have an opportunity to ask questions. Thank you and have a good day.